Veda-based Prabhu, verse number 44, 7.9.44.
Yes, Mataji, I am there in 7.9.44, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prayena deva munaya samimuktikama maunam charanti vijaneena prarartha nishtha naitan vihaya kripanad vimumiksha eko nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato anupashye. My dear Lord Narasimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Maunavrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Who wants to read?
Hare
Ramya
Krishna,
Mataji, can you
Mataji.
read?
Yes,
Yeah, Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaja said, Naivo dvije para duratyaya vaitharanyaha. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28. Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bibhyati. Swarga Swargapavarga Narakeshava api Tulyartha Darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaja is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaja says clearly, Nanyam Tvad Asya Sharanam Brahmato Nupasye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna consciousness person avoids all kinds of pseudo spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. Can you share the PPT now, Prabhu? So here in the translation, it's very clearly stated that Prahlad Maharaj says, I do not want to go back home, back to Godhead alone, right? So that's very important. Srila Prabhupada also did the same thing. Srila Prabhupada wrote in one of his letters, he said, I have the clue, how to go back home, back to Godhead. I know the way, I know the path, but I do not want to go alone. Can you imagine, right? I do not want to go alone. I want to take everybody along with me. That is called compassion. That is called paradukha sukhi. One of the paradukha dukhi. One of the special qualities of a Vaishnava is looking at others suffering. They want to help. They find somehow or the other they want to end people's suffering and they want to give them a lot of happiness, right? The real happiness, that is the real Vaishnava's duty, right? So that's why Prahlad Maharaj says, I do not want to leave everybody. See, he says, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals, right? Because he's saying, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy, right? So anybody knows what is Prahlad Maharaj doing right now? Where is he? What is he doing right now? He didn't go back home, back to Godhead. What is he doing? We've discussed this before. No one knows. It's a very well-known place in India, South India. No one knows. Okay, there's a place called Mantralayam. Okay, so he is there as Mantralayam. In Mantralayam, he's in the form of Guru Raghavendra. Okay, it's on the border of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, and he's there in his samadhi state. He's completely in trance, right? Smaranam, doing meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's taken samadhi where it is Jiva Samadhi. Okay, he's alive, he's doing samadhi. He's doing meditation upon the Lord, and there is a samadhi built around him, right? And in the form of Tulsi Vrindavan, you can see. If you go to Vrindavan, Mantralayam, you can see him, right? So what is he doing there? He's blessing all people who go to him with spiritual enlightenment, right? Spiritual advancement, not money and all that. No, he's one of the gurus who bless us. If we go there, Mantralayam, and take his darshan, he will give you spiritual progress in your life, right? So that is what he's doing. So whatever he's praying to Narsimha he's putting into application, right? Next slide, next slide. So here, no, next slide, 44, verse number 44. Yeah. So here, one of the Goswamis, right? This comes in Goswami Ashtakam, Shad Goswami Ashtakam. त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपति श्रेणिं सदा तुच्छवात् भूत्वा दीनगणेशकौ करुणया कौपीनकन्ताश्रितौ गोपी भावरसामृताब्धिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नौ मुहुर् वन्दे रूपसनातना रघुयुगौ श्रीजीवगोपालकौ. So what does this say? The Shad Goswamis kicked off all association of aristocracy as insignificant, right? Rupa Goswami, we all know Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, all of them were aristocratic people, right? They were prime ministers, they were treasurers, right? They were sons of huge rich people, very, very rich people. What did they do? They left everything and they surrendered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? Why? To deliver the poor conditioned souls. In order to deliver the poor conditioned souls, they accepted such renounced order of life, treating themselves as mendicants. They never cooked, they begged, right? And what did they do? Like Sanatan Goswami worshipped Radha Madan Mohan. They used to beg, they used to get those dried rotis and all that without salt, anything. They used to make and offer it to the Lord, right? That is what they would offer to the Lord, not Shodashopachar, right? So, but they are always merged in the ecstatic ocean of the gopis' love for Krishna and bathe always and repeatedly in the waves of that ocean. Can you imagine? They are Jivan Mukta Sauchyate. They were in the material world, but they were not in the material world, right? They were in the material body, but they were not in the material body, right? They were completely engrossed in Gopi Bhav, how gopis love Krishna, right? When they hear the flute of Krishna, they just go mad, right? Like bumblebees, how they go, I mean, or honeybees, how they go mad after honey, right? They just go mad. They wait for Krishna. When the moment Krishna appears, they start serving Krishna, right? That's how gopis are. One moment also they cannot live without Krishna. All the time Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. They talk about Krishna. They do things for Krishna, right? Exactly the same way Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all the Shad Goswamis, they left everything. They left everything. Why? To deliver the poor conditioned soul. And that's exactly what Prahlad Maharaj is also doing, right? Prahlad Maharaj is saying there are a lot of Vaishnavas or exalted devotees who go off to Himalayas and they take Mauna Vrat, right? As in just they don't talk to common people like Babajis, right? But Prahlad Maharaj says if everybody becomes a Babaji, who will deliver? Who will deliver? All the people around, right? And that's why even ISKCON encourages Ghoshyanandis. There are two types of Vaishnavas, right? One is Bhajananandis, which they do all the like Babajis. They do sing, they do bhajan and everything for themselves. But Ghoshyanandis are preachers, right? Whoever they see, they give them Krishna, Harinam. They can give them some kind of Krishna consciousness, right? So that's why in the last sentence you can see in the pulpit it says Krishna conscious persons avoid all kinds of pseudo spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Anybody who is not working for the upliftment of other people and bringing them into Krishna consciousness, such people are not really called true Vaishnavas. They're pseudo Vaishnavas. They're pseudo spiritualists, right? Yeah. Next shloka. Veda base, you can share them. यन्मैथुनादि गृहमेदि सुखं हि तुच्छं कन्दूय नीनाकरयोरिव दुःखं तृप्यन्ति नेहा कृपणा बहुदुःखभाजा कन्दूतिवन् मनसिजं विषहेतधीरा. Veda base, bro. Hare Krishna. You can share the Veda base, verse number 45. Yeah. यन्मैथुनादि गृहमेदि सुखं हि तुच्छं कन्दाय नीनाकरयोरिव दुःखं तृप्यन्ति नेहा कृपणा बहु दुःखभाजा मनसा मनासिजं विषहेतधीरा. Sex life is compared to rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedis, so-called grihasthas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fallen fools, who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. Can anybody read the pulpit? Who wants to read? Ramya Mataji, can you continue?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Materialists think that sexual indulgence is the greatest happiness in this material world, and therefore they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. This is generally found everywhere and specifically found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. Actually, however, this has not made anyone happy. Even the hippies, who have given up all the materialistic comforts of their fathers and grandfathers, cannot give up the sensational happiness of sex life. Such persons are described here as kripanas, misers. The human form of life is a great asset, for in this life one can fulfill the goal of existence. Unfortunately, however, because of a lack of education and culture, people are victimized by the false happiness of sex life. Prahlada Maharaja therefore advises one not to be misled by this civilization of sense gratification and especially not by sex life. Rather, one should be sober, avoid sense gratification, and be Krishna conscious. The lusty person who's compared to a foolish miser never gets happiness by sense gratification. The influence of material nature is very difficult to surpass. But as stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. If one voluntarily submits to the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be saved very easily. In reference to the low grade of happiness of sex life, Yamunacharya says in this connection, Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde navanava rasa damanudyata rantum asit. Tadavati बत नारी संगमे स्मर्यमाने भवति मुख विकार सुस्तु निश्चित्वनम च. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with disgust. Yamunacharya had formerly been a great king who enjoyed sexual happiness in various ways. But since he later engaged himself in the service of the Lord, he enjoyed spiritual bliss and hated to think of sex life. If sexual thoughts came to him, he would spit with disgust. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Yeah, Prabhu, can you share the link that I just shared? In the chat, I just shared a link. So here, beautiful, right? So what does Yamunacharya say? Whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at that thought and my lips curl with distaste. Can you imagine? Right? That means he's got the taste already, the spiritual taste he's already got. That's why he doesn't, once when you get diamond, will you go after stone? No, right? And will you go after normal crystal? No, right? Because you know the value of diamond, right? So that's why Prabhupada says in the purport, if you have to voluntarily submit yourself to the lotus feet of the Lord, voluntarily, then what happens when you voluntarily submit yourself to the lotus feet of the Lord? Then tuchhavat, everything in material world becomes garbage, right? You'll not really get any happiness out of it. And even here, in one of the bhajans, right, it says, Bhipale sevanu kripana durajana chapala sukha labelagire. Right? For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. Right? For a fraction of flickering happiness. It's not complete happiness, it's flickering, right? It's not permanent, it's flickering. And what it's momentary, right? That happiness doesn't even last an hour or maybe a day, right? It's very flickering. And for that, what do people do in the material world? They consider sex pleasure to be the highest form of pleasure, right? Which is because they do not know the highest form of pleasure. When you get something higher, you will leave what you had considered higher all this while, right? And that's why we discussed about the gopi bhav, right, in the previous shloka. Prabhu, Giridhar Prabhu, can you share that link that I just shared with you?
Yes, Mataji, I've shared this Adi Leela 4.30, Mataji.
No, the PPT is visible.
Okay.
You stop sharing the screen and then you share the screen.
Mataji?
PPT is only
It's the
visible,
same
Prabhuji.
PPT, Prabhu. It's the same PPT. No, you stop sharing the screen and then select Veda base. When you start sharing, you select that CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita.
And you wanted the Veda base to be displayed?
Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamritam, the link that I've just shared with you. Adi Leela, 4th chapter, 30. Yeah. Come down. Yeah. So here it says, in Goloka Vrindavan, there is an exchange of love known as Parakiya Rasa. Right? It is something like the attraction of a married woman for a man other than her husband. So in the material world, this sort of relationship is most abominable because it is perverted reflection of Parakiya Rasa in the spiritual world, where it is the highest kind of loving affair. It's called paramour love, right? So such feelings between a devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yoga Maya, right? And here it's also said those who are actually great souls are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, always engaged in the service of the Lord. They are under the care of Daivim Prakriti, Radharani or Yogamaya, right? So they transgress all regulative principles simply to love Krishna. A devotee naturally does not like to transgress the laws of reverence for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by the influence of Yogamaya is prepared to do anything to love the Supreme Lord better. Okay. So this is exactly what we need to understand in the context of sex desire, right? Sex desire should also be dovetailed to love the Lord, to serve the Lord, right? And that's why Grihasthashram is meant to produce Krishna conscious children, not normal children, Krishna conscious children, right? And that's why we have something called Garbhadan Samskar and everything. Dovetailing your life to Krishna means dovetailing every element of your life to Krishna, right? Including sex desire, sex pleasure, everything, right? So here it's said in Goloka Vrindavan, there is something called Parakiya Bhav or Parakiya Rasa, where the gopis, they were married, they all had husbands, they all had children, but still they were, they loved Krishna, right? Why? Because Krishna is the only lovable object, only worshipable object for every living entity, whether you're married, whether you're not married, right? Krishna is actually said, Senior Vaishnava, I was hearing a lecture. There it was said that Krishna is actually the husband of everybody, even male bodies, right? Even men, women, men, everybody, Krishna is the husband. Can you imagine? Because we are all coming under Prakriti, we are all nature. And Krishna is Purusha, he's the only Purusha, he's Purushottama, right? Best of the Purushas. And only he has to enjoy. Everybody else is enjoyed, right? We are enjoyed by him and he is the only enjoyer, right? So all such feelings between a devotee and the Lord are presented by the influence of Yoga Maya. It's called devotional service, Krishna Prema. When you reach the Prema stage, right, then you start serving Krishna based on your constitutional position, right? What is your real position? What is your real you? What are you? What bhav are you really supposed to serve him in? We don't know now, right? We have forgotten, right? And devotional service is a process to revive that relationship, lost relationships or forgotten relationship with Krishna, right? So we may be serving Krishna in Vatsalya Bhav as a mother, as a father, or we may be even serving Krishna in the form of a lover, as a gopi, right? Or as a friend, like Arjuna, like Sudama, right? We don't know what we serve him, right? We do not know. So, but when we start engaging ourselves in devotional service, that real rasa will be revealed to us, right? There are 5 rasas, right? Out of which Madhurya Bhav or loving Krishna in conjugal relationship, that is the highest, right? And here in the purport, it is also said that the Lord is so merciful that he himself descends to take the fallen souls back home, back to Godhead, where the erotic principles of Godhead are eternally relished in their real form, distinct from the perverted sexual love so much adored and indulged in by the fallen souls in their diseased condition. Okay, so this material world is a reflection, right? Perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So we need to understand one thing. What is lowest in the material world becomes highest in the spiritual world.
And what is highest in the spiritual, lowest in the spiritual world becomes highest in the material world. Anybody knows what is highest in the spiritual world, which is lowest in the material world? Because it's a perverted reflection. Anybody knows? Any guesses? You can put your answers in the chat. No one knows?
Mataji, power, wealth, fame,
Yeah, that is.
that is highest in the spiritual world, oh, lowest in the spiritual world.
Huh. Yeah. So, partly correct. So, sense gratification, sense gratification is lowest in the spiritual world. Okay. Krishna's sense gratification, right? Because we need to power, wealth, as Prabhu said, power, wealth, money, all this. If we use it to gratify our own senses, right? Then that becomes the lowest in the material world, right? Anything you do for yourself to enjoy in this material world, it becomes lowest in the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, everybody, not ourselves, right? And what is lowest in the, there's one more thing which is lowest in the material world. That is parakiya rasa, right? When a married woman goes behind another man, other than her husband, if she goes behind another man, it's considered the lowest, right? It's considered the lowest, most abominable material, considered the whole world. Can you imagine? Right? That's 3 day, right? Which is very, very lowest in the material world, right? So why is it lowest? Because married woman is supposed to be chaste, not supposed to go behind any other man, right, other than her husband, right? So, but in spiritual world, that's not the case, because we all know Krishna is our real husband, right? The real maintainer is Krishna, and gopis wanted to love Krishna, right? So their way of loving Krishna was conjugal relationship, madhurya bhav, madhurya ras, right? But it's considered parakiya, right? Because they were married already to their husbands. Still they took all the risks in the world. No woman takes such a risk, right? They took all the risks in the world to meet Krishna, to serve Krishna, right? In rasa dance. But this is completely on the spiritual platform. That is something we need to understand, because while rasa dance is happening, whole night they were dancing, right? But actually, you know what happened at home? All the husbands had gopis sleeping next to them. Can you imagine? Right? They were all there next to them. That means the bodies of the gopis were there, but only the souls went to dance with Krishna. That means this is on the spiritual platform, nothing to do with body. Right? That's why it's on the spiritual platform. So Krishna doesn't, not the body. Body is the gift from material world, material energy. Prabhupada writes in one of the purports, right? Soul is Krishna's parts and parcel, not the body, right? That's why this is on the spiritual platform. And this is what is, important. Ultimately, whatever sex desire or any kind of pleasure you want, dovetail it to the Lord. Do it for the Lord. And then you'll get double happiness, triple happiness than what you get in this material world, right? That's why Prabhupada says all grihastha, all devotees who get married are supposed to produce Krishna conscious children. Otherwise, they will get karma bondage, right? It becomes sense gratification. It doesn't become devotional service, right? Yeah. Can you share the PPT, Prabhu?
Mataji, is that visible, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, it's done. No. Go back. Okay, it's done. Yeah. We'll go to the next shloka. Share the Veda based. Sorry. 46. So we will be completing 46 to 50. 4 more shlokas and we will be done. 46 shloka.
Yeah, 1 second, Mataji.
Yeah.
1 second.
मौनव्रता श्रुततपा अध्यायना स्वधर्मा वाक्यारहो जपसमधाया अपवर्ग्या प्राया परं पुरुषते त्वा अजितेन्द्रियाणां वार्ता भवन्ति उत न वात्रानुधाम्बिकानाम्.
Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to liberation: to remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Vanashrama Dharma, to explain the Shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to explain the Shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantras silently, and to be absorbed in trance. These different methods for liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who have not conquered their senses. Because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful. Anybody read the purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
We'll finish.
Stated in
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.15, Kechit Kevalya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayanaha Aham Dunvanti Tatsnaya Yena Ikaram Iva Bhaskaraha. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. The real purpose of human life is to attain liberation from material entanglement. Such liberation may be achieved by many methods. Tapasa, brahmacharyana, samena, cha, damena, cha. But all of them more or less depend on tapasya, austerity, which begins with the celibacy. Sukadeva Goswami says that those who are Vasudeva Parayana, who have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord Vasudeva Krishna, automatically achieve the results of Mauna, silence, Vrata, vows, and other such methods simply by discharging devotional service. In other words, these methods are not so powerful. If one takes to devotional service, all of them are very easily performed. Mauna, for example, does not mean that one should just stop speaking. The tongue is meant for speaking. Although sometimes to make a big show, a person remains silent. There are many who observe silence some day in a week. Vaishnavas, however, do not observe such silence. Silence means not speaking foolishly. Speakers at assemblies, conferences, and meetings generally speak foolishly like toads. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as Vacho Vegam. One who wants to say something can show himself to be a big orator, but rather than go on speaking nonsense, better to remain silent. This method of silence, therefore, is recommended for persons very attached to speaking nonsense. One who is not a devotee must speak nonsensically because he does not have the power to speak about the glories of Krishna. Thus, whatever he says is influenced by the illusory energy and is compared to the croaking of a frog. One who speaks about the glories of the Lord, however, he has no need to be silent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtanyaha Sada Harihi. One should go on chanting the glories of the Lord 24 hours a day. There is no question of becoming mauna or silent. The 10 processes for liberation or improvement on the path of liberation are not meant for devotees. Kevalya Bhaktya. If one simply engages in devotional service to the Lord, all 10 methods of liberation are automatically observed. Prahlada Maharaja's proposal is that such process may be recommended for Ajidendriya, those who cannot conquer their senses. Devotees, however, have already conquered their senses. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam. A devotee is already freed from material contamination. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura therefore said, Tustamana, Tumi Kisera Vaishnava, Pradistara Tare, Nirjanera Kare, Tava Karinama Kevala Haitva. There are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna Mantra is a solitary place. But if one is not interested in preaching, taking constantly to the non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. Therefore, unless one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should not imitate Haridasa Thakura, who had no other business than chanting the holy name always, 24 hours a day. Prahlada Maharaja does not condemn such a process. He accepts it. But without active service to the Lord, simply by such methods, one generally cannot attain liberation. One cannot attain liberation simply by false pride. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so the purport also says what we've discussed earlier, right? So Maunavratam means, what is the real definition of Maunavratam or silence, right? Not to talk about anything material, right? Talking something that is related to Krishna, reaching Krishna glories, chanting the holy name of the Lord, singing his glories, right? Or talking about him to make others Krishna conscious, thinking about him, offering prayers to him. These are these are the ways we can use our words, right? We need to use our body, mind, and words to serve Krishna. Manasa, vacha, karmana, right? So how do you use your words? Vacha, right? That not by silencing, right? Not by doing maunavrat. Some people I have seen, some people who take up this meditation, Mayavada meditation, they do maunavrat for like 15 days, like that. They just don't talk. They don't talk only, right? That is not called silence. Why did Krishna give you the mouth or the ability to speak if you have to do silence, right? That is common sense. We need to ask ourselves, right? And that's why here Prabhupada says real Krishna consciousness or real silence or Maunavratam is talking about Krishna, chanting the holy name of the Lord, right? And preaching the glories of Krishna to others, right? Singing about him to others, right? So here Prabhupada mentions, therefore one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness. One should not imitate Haridas Thakur. What did Haridas Thakur do? All the time chant, 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 24 hours a day. He would not take one moment, he would not take break. Even to eat prasadam, he would not. He would all the time chant, 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 right? 24 hours a day. That's how Prahlad Maharaj is. Haridas Thakur is. And that's the real meaning of silence. Silence is not about, it is to, maintain ourselves or silence ourselves from talking about mundane activities and talking only about spiritual activities, right? This comes with practice. This comes with sadhana, right? So here it is said, there are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in silent, solitary place. But if one is not interested in preaching, talking constantly to the non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. So Prabhupada is saying, talking constantly to the non-devotees about Krishna consciousness, to preach, to advertise. We have marketing roles, right? Marketing people. What do? They go and talk about Krishna, their product to everybody. Same way we are marketing. We are also brand ambassadors of Krishna. So we need to talk to everybody about Krishna, right? So Prabhupada is saying, if you don't talk constantly to non-devotees, the influence of modes of nature are very difficult to surpass. We will also be under the influence of modes of nature. Then we cannot overcome. We will fall down. All our sadhana will just go waste, right? So tell anybody. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, if there's nobody for you to talk about Krishna consciousness, you talk to the walls, right? There are cockroaches, there are mosquitoes, there are so many insects. They will at least get delivered, right? So just talk, talk. If Krishna sees that you're really, really desiring to talk, he will send people to you, right? But he will send. But until you talk to the walls, right? Your family members, your children at home, talk to them about Krishna stories. So many stories are there, right? That is the real meaning of silence. Okay, so with this we end. Remaining we will continue in the next class. It's actually very long. Okay, next class we will finish. Vansha kalpadrubhyascha kapa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. अनंतकोटि वैष्णव की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. Hare Krishna. Any doubts? Any questions? Anybody?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji. Thanks to both Ramya Mataji and Muthumanikam Mataji for their Kirtan today, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Muthumanchikam Prabhu and Ramya Mataji, for coming forward. This inspires everybody. So Ramya Mataji, very nice to have you sing today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Mataji. Any doubt?